You're not lazy. You're emotionally disconnected. You had a plan, a clear one. You told yourself, today is different. And then, nothing. Not because you're incapable, not because you don't care, but because somewhere between the intention and the action, something inside you went quiet. This video isn't about productivity hacks. It's about what's actually happening underneath. You know the feeling well. The tasks are written down, the deadline is real, the stakes matter to you. And yet, you sit there, almost watching yourself from a distance, waiting to feel ready, waiting to want it. You scroll, you reorganize, you make tea. You call it procrastination. Other people call it laziness. But neither word fits, not quite. Because laziness implies not caring, and you do care. You care deeply. That's almost what makes it worse. Psychologists have a name for what you're experiencing. It falls under a cluster of patterns called emotional dysregulation. Specifically, a state where your executive function and your emotional core have become decoupled. Researchers like Dr. Russell Barkley, one of the world's leading experts on self-regulation, describe motivation not as a character trait, but as an emotional state. You don't think your way into action, you feel your way in. And when feeling is unavailable, when emotion is flat, numb, or muted, even the simplest task can feel like lifting concrete. Let's slow down here, because something important needs to be said clearly. You are not broken, you are not weak, and you are not failing at life. What you're experiencing is not a character flaw, it is a nervous system response, a learned pattern, sometimes a survival strategy. Many people who experience emotional disconnection have lived through long periods of stress, loss, or environments where being too present, feeling too much, wasn't safe. So the brain adapted. It learned to turn the volume down, to protect you. The problem is, it turned down everything, including the signal that says, "This matters. Start." Here's what's happening inside the brain. Think of your mind as having two rooms. The first room is the planning room. It holds your goals, your calendar, your intentions. It knows exactly what needs to be done. This is your prefrontal cortex, the rational brain. The second room is the feeling room. It holds your energy, your desire, your sense of meaning. This is your limbic system, your emotional brain. Normally, these two rooms are in constant conversation. A message travels from the feeling room to the planning room. This matters. This excites us. Move. But when you're emotionally disconnected, the corridor between them goes dark. The planning room is still on. Lists, goals, intentions, all lit up. But the feeling room has gone quiet. And without that emotional signal, action becomes nearly impossible. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio demonstrated this through his work with patients who had damage to the emotional regions of their brain. These patients could reason perfectly, but they couldn't decide anything. They couldn't move. Without emotion, there is no motivation. That's not philosophy, that's neuroscience. So what do you do with this? Here are 5 principles, each rooted in psychology, for reconnecting with yourself. Before you try to fix anything, simply name what you're experiencing. I feel disconnected right now. My motivation feels absent. This is called affect labeling. Research by Matthew Lieberman at UCLA shows that naming an emotional state reduces the intensity of the limbic system's alarm response. You're not analyzing, you're not solving, you're just making contact. When emotion is unavailable through thought, the body often holds a back door in. A short walk, cold water on your face, slow, deliberate breath. These are not distractions, They are portals. Somatic psychology, the study of the body-mind relationship, tells us that the nervous system can be regulated bottom-up through physical sensation when top-down thinking has stalled. Don't ask yourself, how do I finish this project? Ask instead, what is the smallest version of this that would make me feel like I've begun? This reframes the task as an emotional target, not a cognitive mountain. Behavioral activation theory, central to cognitive behavioral therapy, shows that small, meaningful actions can re-engage the emotional reward system. You don't feel ready, then start. You start, and feeling follows. Sometimes disconnection isn't random. It's a response to something specific, a fear of failure, a grief you haven't processed, a relationship quietly draining you. Ask gently, what might I be protecting myself from by staying still? This is not about blame, it's about understanding, and understanding is the beginning of movement. Each day, give yourself one small moment of genuine feeling, a piece of music that moves you, a memory you allow yourself to sit with, a conversation where you let yourself be seen. These aren't indulgences, they are practice. You are slowly turning the corridor between your two rooms back on, one small light at a time. Here's the one mental model to hold on to. Motivation is not a personality trait, it is a signal. And like any signal, it needs a clear channel to travel through. When you're emotionally disconnected, the channel is disrupted. The signal can't reach you. Your work, your only work, is to restore the connection, not to force the signal louder, but to quietly clear the path. Name the numbness, use your body, shrink the task, trace the source, practice feeling, a little every day. These aren't steps to becoming a different person, they're steps back to yourself. You've spent a long time wondering what's wrong with you, questioning your discipline, your ambition, your worth. But what if nothing is wrong with you? What if you are simply a person who has learned, at some cost, to protect themselves from their own feelings? And what if starting now, you chose to gently disagree with that protection? Not by forcing it open, not by demanding more of yourself, but by becoming, slowly, quietly, someone willing to feel again. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are someone learning to come home to yourself. And that takes courage.